Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are tackling something absolutely crucial: how to actually make classroom inclusion work. If you're stepping into the role of a behavioral interventionist, or BI, for the very first time, you might be sitting there wondering, okay, what is my day-to-day actually going to look like? Well, you're in the right place, because we're going to break down the exact playbook you need. Our whole journey today centers around one completely non-negotiable philosophy: support the teacher, understand behavior, stay in the classroom. Let's get right into it.
So here's our game plan for today. We're looking at your core purpose, your role boundaries, following student plans, seeing behavior as communication, trauma-informed support, and then we'll wrap up with some real-world scenarios. All right, starting right off with Section 1, Purpose. Support the teacher. Think of yourself as a bridge. As a BI, your main purpose is to bridge that gap between a student's unique individual needs and the everyday demands of a general education classroom. You are working right alongside the teacher as a totally united front. But here's the massive takeaway for you. The ultimate goal is always, always access to instruction. You're there to help keep the classroom running smoothly so the learning doesn't stop. You're going to reinforce routines, use low-level strategies to prevent blow-ups. Basically, the teacher leads, you support. Moving right along to Section 2, Role Boundaries and Expectations. Knowing what falls outside your role is honestly just as important as knowing what's inside it. Let's clear the air right now on what BIs are not. You are not a one-to-one aide glued to a single student all day. You're not the primary discipline staff. You are definitely not a substitute teacher, and you don't run IEPs on your own. What you are is a classroom-based support presence. You're the teacher's partner, a plan-informed responder, and a calm, reliable bridge for de-escalation. I really need you to listen to this one closely. If you become the primary adult managing a student, something is off. Seriously, mentally underline that. If you find yourself making all the calls, doing all the interacting, or spending like 90% of your day with just one kid, that's a massive red flag for role drift. If you're doing all the managing, you need to pause, step back, and reconnect with the teacher. Okay, Section 3, Follow the student plan. You're going to be working with some pretty exceptional learners who have legally binding plans in place. We're talking IEPs and behavior intervention plans, or BIPs. Your job is what we call plan-aware support. You absolutely need to know their accommodations, what triggers them, and what specific de-escalation tactics work for them. But here's that boundary again. You do not write these plans. You don't tweak them on the fly. Your job is just to help the teachers stay completely consistent with what the team has already put on paper. Remember, you do not run the plan. You help the teachers stay consistent with the plan. Because you're working with these plans, you're going to see highly sensitive student info. So we have 3 ironclad rules for confidentiality. 1, need to know. Only share info with staff who actually actively need it to help the kid. 2, professional purpose. Any chat about a student must have a valid work-related reason. And 3, private setting. Please never discuss a student's disability, their behavior, or their plan in a hallway, the break room, or any public space. It's just a hard no. Need to know, professional purpose, private setting.
Let's dive into Section 4, Behavior as Communication. It's super easy to look at a disruptive kid and just think, wow, they are being really difficult today. But actually, every behavior is just a student trying to tell us something they don't have the words for yet. Research points to 4 main drivers. Escape usually means, hey, this task is way too hard. Attention means they're craving some kind of connection. Control means they're desperate for predictability and a chaotic environment. And regulation, that means their nervous system is totally flooded and they need help calming down. The goal isn't to just magically stop a behavior, it's to play detective and figure out what they actually need. Now, in a high-pressure, loud classroom, human instinct is to just react. But as a BI, you've got to take a beat. You need a mental framework to force your brain to stop, slow down, and think systematically before jumping in. It's basically a 4-question mental pause. Let's break those 4 questions down. Step 1, what is the student communicating? Try to spot that underlying driver we just talked about. Step 2, is there a plan I should follow? Quick mental check for any IEP or BIP strategies. Step 3, what does the teacher need right now? Figure out the immediate classroom priority. And step 4, how do I help discreetly? How can you slide in and support without totally derailing the lesson? Running through this ensures you don't react impulsively, and most importantly, it keeps the instruction going. Section 5, Trauma-Informed Response Strategies. We need to make a massive mindset shift right here. Regulation has to come before compliance. A kid whose brain is completely flooded with stress literally cannot access the logical, problem-solving part of their mind. So what makes it worse? Public corrections, sarcasm, raised voices, getting dragged into a power struggle. To a dysregulated brain, all of that just signals a threat. Contrast that with what actually works. A calm tone, using way fewer words, clear expectations, and predictable responses. Listen, students match adult energy. If you demand compliance while they are dysregulated, you're guaranteed to cause an escalation.
Okay, section 6. Let's take all of this and put it into some real scenarios in action. Picture this. You're in the room and the teacher pulls you aside and whispers, "Can you just take him out every day during math?" This is so common, and honestly, it comes from a place of real frustration. But think back to our non-negotiables. You're there for proactive support, to maintain access to instruction. Removal should literally never be your default setting. So how do you push back respectfully without throwing the teacher under the bus?
Here is your golden response. You say, "I can definitely support him here during math. What would you like me to focus on so he can stay engaged?" Do you see what that does? It's a brilliant pivot. It validates the teacher's stress, but it completely reframes the solution. Best of all, it keeps the student right there in the classroom where the learning is happening, and it keeps you firmly in your support role. So what does that actually look like on the ground? It's ninja-level support. You use proximity. Sometimes just standing near a kid is enough to regulate them. You give quiet, private prompts instead of shouting across the room. You use visual cues. Maybe you just lean in and help them start the very first problem, or break a huge, overwhelming worksheet into tiny steps. Pre-correcting before transitions is huge too. Notice the theme? You are supporting the teacher and the student, but you are never becoming the center of attention.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. I really want you to walk away today holding on to these 3 core commitments. Number 1, keep instruction going. Number 2, follow the plan. And number 3, support the teacher. The teacher is the lead, and you are the key to making that classroom accessible for everyone. Your role is literally what makes true inclusion happen. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time a student starts struggling, will your presence be the reason they get sent out of the room or the reason they finally get to stay?